Oh, we got some mailbag questions for you today, all answered 100% correctly, and this is important, your money back. First, I wanted to talk about the deadline not the deadline, I guess it would be the open of the earliest you could use a franchise or transition player tag. That was on Tuesday, and as of yet, at least, the Buccaneers have not used that, probably will not use that. And I did get a lot of people asking me, sort of on Twitter and other places about whether they might use a franchise tag on Chris Godwin. Godwin, of course, is going to become a free agent. I think that's going to be first day of the league year, which is something like March, middle of March sometime. And I had to remind people that he's been franchised twice. The second time kind of got lost a little bit because it was more of a placeholder. They franchised him and then they signed him to a long-term extension that was that 3-year, $60 million deal, which is now expired or is going to expire on the first day of the league year. And because of that, when you tag a guy twice, if you tagged him a third time, I mean, you're talking about quarterback money. I think you have to, it's something ridiculous, like $41 million or something insane like that. So basically no one gets tagged more than twice, right? Because as much as the union agreed to franchise player tags to try to keep the best players, in their own cities, at least have a vehicle for that. You're just not going to do it 3 times. And the case of Godwin is tricky because he has, you have another factor, which is the injuries. He got hurt against the Ravens about week 6 or 7, somewhere in there. Dislocated ankle, gruesome injury, just terrible. Back on crutches, atrophy, the whole thing. Like you can't, you're mobile for a long time. But I don't believe, and there's no way to really quantify this, I don't believe his injury was as serious as tearing 3 knee ligaments, which is what he did in 2021 and made it back for the season opener in 2022. He tore that in December. Now, was he the same player the first year back? No. But last year, before the injury, Steve, he was leading the NFL in receptions. I don't think I've seen Chris Godwin play better, right, over a 6 or 7 game span than I saw him play last year before he got hurt.
He was incredible. And the worry about him is the injuries. And because of what's happened in the past.
Sure it is.
The position he plays and the way he plays.
Yes.
But he was outstanding to start this past season.
Mm-hmm.
And when he went down, that hurt that team. And, you saw emotionally how it did too.
It was devastating. And it came so late in the game, and there was questions about should he have been in the game at all. You get that a lot.
No question about it. And he's a tricky one because of the injury.
And his age. He's going to be 29 years old.
Absolutely. He's come back before, but how many times can you come back? Like, how many lives does he have?
Right.
We're going to put in cat terms or whatever, but it's one of those tricky ones of, do you want to invest that money there, or is McMillan ready to step up and you go sign somebody else?
Or draft somebody else.
Well, absolutely.
That's the thing. There's receivers in this draft. I'm not saying you're going to take one in the first round necessarily. You didn't take McMillan in the first round. You got him in, I think, in the third or the fourth. But at the end of the day, McMillan is at minimum ready to become the number 2 receiver if he needs to be, right? I think he showed that in the last, 5 games. He had 7 touchdowns. I think he had more touchdowns in the final 5 games this season than anybody in the NFL. So he took that step that you wanted to see. Now he's got to do it again. He's got to do it for a full season. He's got to stay healthy. I think Jalen has to get bigger, right? He has to get stronger. We saw, it probably cost them a game, when he got the ball tore out of his hands in the end zone in Dallas, right? So there's things. He's not a finished product for sure. But he figured it out. He started practicing the right way. It transferred onto Sunday, started making plays all over the field. So he can be Mike Evans number 2, but you need 3, man. Like we've seen this play before, right?
Mm-hmm.
When Antonio Brown showed up and Godwin and Mike were in there, it changed the entire dynamic of that offense. Now they also had Rob Gronkowski, right, which didn't hurt. But Cade Otton stepped up last year when Godwin went down, and we saw what he was capable of doing if you needed to hang more on him. So he's another weapon that they have. So, their 5 eligible are fine, whether it's Bucky Irving, Rashad White, and the 2 or 3 receivers and the tight end. They've got, really good targets. But would you be better with Chris and then have Jalen as your number 3 than if you just say it's time for McMillan? Let's not cut back on him. Let's just roll with it. It's a tough decision because
well, it is, and the other part is, and you said you go draft a receiver, and
Mhm.
that's possible.
Yeah,
And
but then you're going through growing pains.
Well, going through growing pains, but this draft is going to be heavy defense for Bucs.
It has to be. It just has to be.
And so if you plan on taking a receiver in your second, third round, that's a defensive tackle you're not taking, or a middle linebacker, or it's going to be a cornerback. It's going to be it's going to be another piece there you're not taking. So if you're going to pay the money to Chris, that allows you more picks on the defensive side of this thing. If you want to, if you're not going to pay Chris and not going to trade for a Cooper Kupp or whatever, then if you're planning on drafting one, then it takes away from what you're going to do defensively. So then how are you going to fix those problems? And that's the trade-off. It's not as easy as just, sign him, pick him. Like, there's a finite number of picks. There's a finite number of money in the salary cap. And so when you decide to spend here or not spend here, it impacts a lot of other areas of your team based, sometimes positively, sometimes negatively.
Right. And I don't think they've seen enough from, say, Trey Palmer, right? And I don't think Sterling Shepard's coming back, right? Like, there are guys that they got by with last year when they had the injuries to Chris and to Mike, because Mike was out for 3 weeks as well. And again, these are older receivers. You also have to ask yourself, okay, so Mike Evans is definitely closer to the end of his career than he's ever been. He's going to be 32 by the time he's into the season. And that being the case, and he missed some games last year, can you afford to have 2 guys approaching their 30s, both making $20.5 million or so? Now, from a financial standpoint, it's going to be interesting because I think Godwin will have a market, but the injury won't help him, right? Like, the team that will trust him the most is the Bucs, because they know how hard he works. They know he'll do absolutely everything to get back and play at the highest level he can possibly play at. They've seen him do it, right? With a more severe injury, and I'm not minimizing what his injury was, but I think when you tear 3 knee ligaments, that can take a bigger bite out of you psychologically, cutting, running, all that stuff, than the dislocated ankle. And then you also had a bone fracture, which heals. So I'm not saying that this was an insignificant injury, but we've seen players come back. Now, not necessarily, wide receiver. You're talking about that burst, right? Does he still have enough speed? Can he get separation? But Chris has always been a combat kind of catch guy anyway. Like, he's rarely got separation, right? He just bodies up people, makes those tough catches over the middle, does a lot in the run game. But if you're going to play him, if he makes it back, and he should, just from a rehab standpoint, the Bucs will trust he'll be ready as he can be, right, for that injury. I don't know that the teams will really trust him. Will they give him a 2-year deal? Will they give him a 3-year deal at 29 years old? And furthermore, if nothing happens, right, because he had a voidable year left on his contract for 2025, he's going to count $18.88 million against their salary cap, whether he's here or not. Okay. And they can lower that number. If you were to resign, they could spread it out over a couple years instead of taking it all in 2025. So there's actually an incentive, for this year, at least for 2025. Eventually it's going to cost them 18 million either way. But, and then it's about structure. Will Chris be willing to take a 1-year deal? Well, is he going to insist on 2 years, $40 million? Like, those are all things we don't know the value that he's placing on himself. What does it mean for him to stay in Tampa and potentially finish his career here, like Mike will probably do? That's all in negotiating, right? But I don't think he's going to seem more valuable to another team. Maybe Jacksonville. Maybe Liam Cohen knows him well enough and thinks, hey, he'd be a great compliment to the young receivers we have here.
Dave Canales may like him.
Dave Canales in Carolina, no question. Yeah, I think that's another guy. That it would take somebody, I think, that is willing to say, I know Chris. I know what he brings to my. It's a bigger than just his production on the field, although that was huge last year. Maybe he doesn't have quite the production, but he's going to really teach my young receivers how to be pros. The way Mike taught him. And that sometimes that goes overlooked on football teams, but believe me, it's not insignificant. It really isn't. The veterans at each position group in that room influence those young guys as soon as they come in the building. And Godwin is one of those meticulous note takers. Just kind of gets football, dives into his playbook. Attacks it like he's a rookie every year. Just does everything, and he learned most of that from Mike. But what a perfect guy to learn from, Mike and Chris. So I tend to think, as I sit here today, I tend to think that the Bucs will figure this out, much like they did with Levante David, right? Levante David, you could have said, I don't know, 1-year deal. Like, what's he got left? I think it's going to be similar to that in the sense that, okay, he's coming off an injury. We trust he'll do everything to get back, but maybe maybe he'll accept a 1-year deal to stay a Buccaneer because, and this is not insignificant either. Baker Mayfield.
That was going to be my next point.
Yeah, the offensive line. Like, you have a chance. Like if they got, it's a big if. They got to fix the defense, folks. They got to get some players. But if you did that, you can't convince me that they're not an NFC champion contender. I'm not saying they're going to win it. I'm not saying they'll even get there. But they got every reason to believe they could win this division again. And we know that once you get a home playoff game, you're just 60 minutes away from playing to go to a championship. So I tend to think that having Mayfield, who's going to be in the same system, not the same coordinator or play caller, obviously, but for the first time in a long time, the same system. Chris wouldn't have to learn a new system. He thrived in this one last year. The other thing was they moved him back inside. That's not why he got hurt. But, remember, they tried, after his injury, they tried to preserve him by putting him out to the boundary, instead of letting him play in the slot. And last year, he went back inside and he dominated, right? He absolutely dominated in there. And that's where he would be again, I think. So yeah, it's fascinating to me, and you never know which way these things are going to go. But you're not going to franchise them, obviously, but you could certainly do something that you could minimize the salary cap hit this year by about $11 million. You could save, push it down the road a little bit, take $7 million this year, and then you got to pay his salary, obviously.
Yep.
But
I think there's one other factor too.
What's that?
Is how much is Baker Mayfield and Mike Evans behind the scenes pushing to sign him?
It's a great point. It's a great point.
Joe Burrow's been very public in trying to sign the guys in Cincinnati, but that's not really what Baker and Mike and the Bucs do things. But how much behind the scenes are they talking to Jason Light and Todd Bowles going, we need Chris Godwin back?
Well, I think a lot. I would think a lot.
I agree they would. And,
yeah,
if they're pushing for it, there's, Jason Light has shown, granted, Tom Brady is the GOAT and different, but if your quarterback wants somebody and you can make it happen, and particularly you could save some of your cap hit because if he goes somewhere else, you've got that $18 million cap hit.
Right.
It would actually be beneficial to sign him.
It enable you to sign, maybe another player or so.
And it allows Jalen McMillan more time
to
develop into that number 2 receiver.
And I think you need 3. That's the thing.
Agreed.
It would give you 3 very productive receivers, right? 2 of them, obviously, at the end of their careers, but another guy who, the last 5 weeks, was as dominant as anybody, especially in the red zone. So for him to play that 3rd spot, and he would be getting single coverage again, right, like he got last year, that he's going to thrive. He's going to thrive for the 2nd year in the system. Baker knows him. There's chemistry. He figured out how to practice and then how to take that from the practice field to the game. And his confidence at the end of the year was sky high. I mean, this dude, he did not lack confidence at all. Like the game slowed down for him. He got into his film study. He did all this stuff. And, coming back this year, it's going to be like night and day. When you're a rookie, you're a rookie. You got to learn everything. Everything is fresh. Now he knows what to expect. He knows how long the training camp is. He knows, how long the season is, how to prepare himself mentally, physically. So he should be, the sky's the limit for that guy. I mean, he's dynamic. He really is. But to have Mike and Chris back for another year, and he becomes your number 3, which means you're getting the nickel corner, right? You're getting the third defensive back, right, in coverage. That creates a tremendous matchup advantage for Jalen McMillan. So I think it's win-win for all of them, really. And you're right. I absolutely they'll ask Baker. And Baker's, whether they ask him or not, he's gonna.
I was gonna say I don't think they have to ask him. I think he's probably been in Jason Light's office or
absolutely.
his text on the phone or whatever saying,
yeah, we got to get him back. We need our guys. Our guys are our guys. Now, it doesn't matter what team you're talking about, right? Matthew Stafford is, according to his wife, pretty ticked off that Cooper Kupp is leaving the Rams. Like he's not happy, to the point where people are talking about him leaving the Rams and maybe going to the Giants or something like that. So, I'm sure Joe Burrow has had that same sort of, that same sort of approach. Is like, I got to have my guys back.
He's trying to get Chase, Higgins, and Trey Hendrickson on the defensive side to stay.
Yeah. Which is a lot, but man, when you got those studs, I don't know how you let them out of the building.
The Bengals have plenty of money to do it.
You have to do it.
It's ownership being Bengals ownership.
It's so stupid. I mean, you're so. I mean, Hendrickson was in New Orleans. Can you imagine? You're in New Orleans. You let that guy get out of there.
The Bengals ownership would rather win in negotiation than win on the field.
Yeah, I listen. There was an owner here in Tampa Bay, Hugh Culverhouse, that felt that way. Winning to him wasn't the win-loss record. Every year the San Francisco 49ers, before the salary cap, would spend more than any team in the NFL, by twice as much as the Buccaneers. And they went to Super Bowls, and they won Super Bowls. And the Buccaneers under Hugh Culverhouse didn't win nothing, okay, except in '79 and with the championship, all that. And basically, if you asked Hugh Culverhouse what winning was, he was winning because he spent the very least amount on payroll of any of the 32 teams at that point, or 30 teams at that point. And to him, he won. He probably looked at DeBartolo and said, "You're an idiot. Why are you losing all this money just to win?" Culverhouse had this thing where he wanted to pay like 3 players. Leroy, the quarterback, and one other guy. That was it. He didn't want to pay anybody else. So, yeah, I mean, you got to be careful because you can get attached to these guys long beyond their productivity. And there's a big question mark anytime a guy's coming off an injury. But I think less so with Chris because he's done it. Because that he's going to take every single step he can take to try to get back 100%. And I don't know enough about the injury to tell you what it's going to affect him the most. Separation has never been something he gets a lot of anyway. Like, I don't. But obviously you got to have confidence to get in and out of breaks and this sort of thing. And there's going to be, strength issues and atrophy because he's had his leg immobile for a while. But from just a rehab standpoint, he should be ready for the regular season. We saw Dak Prescott have this same injury. Now he's a quarterback, but he managed to come back from it. A lot of players have. I would trust Chris would do everything he can possibly do. And new dad, like Tampa is their home. They're obviously emotionally attached. I think it's gonna be a lot like Mike. Like, you look around and think the grass is greener, and maybe the money is, but I got a chance to win a Super Bowl here. What would it mean to win another Super Bowl with your guys? So it feels to me like they'll get something done with him. Maybe a 1-year deal, maybe a 2. But at least I don't think they have to worry. Like they won't franchise him. Obviously, they can't do that. It's kind of out of the question. But whether it gets done, like they push back when that voidable year would hit as dead money on the salary cap, and it's right before the start of free agency. So the ideal time to do it would be right before the start of free agency. Like that's a deal you try to get done, before March, the March deadline, whatever that is. So we'll see. It's an interesting question, and I think Godwin is somebody that I know everybody in that locker room and Josh Grizzard and the coaching staff really, really want him. But as Grizzard said, he goes, "I'm going to leave that to Todd Bowles and Jason Light because they're That's their pay grade, not mine. So I get it. All right, we got mailbag questions coming up as promised. But first, want you guys to get on down to International Plaza Mall. You know where it is. Not far from the airport, where old $1 place used to be. It's been there for a while, and Breitling Boutique has been International Plaza Mall for about 5+ years now, and they have the greatest collection of Swiss watches you're ever going to find. The Breitling company's been in business 140 something years. They've been International Plaza now for about 5, and they have a great collection of men's and women's watches, the chronomats, the Navitimers. In fact, they are still doing a celebration of the NFL's 104th year anniversary, soon to be 105th, I suppose. And they did a collection of these chronomat watches. All 32 teams have their own watches. It's a limited edition, so I can't tell you, for example, if they've sold out of the Cincinnati Bengals or the world champion Philadelphia Eagles. I couldn't tell you that. However, they did have a couple of Tampa Bay Buccaneer watches, and I've seen those. You can, I think you can even go on our website on tampabay.com and see a picture of the Buccaneers watch. It's gorgeous. Got the, the red facing of the watch, and then the logo and all of that. Also, they have women's watches, sports watches. If your lady is on the go like my wife is, running the kids around and kind of banging around the watch a little bit. These are durable, but they're absolutely gorgeous. Tons of different colored wristbands. She's going to love it. So make sure you get on down to Breitling Boutique, International Plaza Mall. Check out the NFL collection of the Chronomat watches, women's watches as well, and make sure you tell them that you heard about it on Sports Day Tampa Bay. All right, we got time for a few mailbag questions here. Let's get started.
All right, we'll start with some Rays questions, actually, we got.
Cool.
So Les asked, or wrote, Rick, I'm bullish on the Rays this year. Here's why. We won a Super Bowl during COVID. We won a cup during COVID. Tell me it wouldn't be the most Tampa Bay thing ever to have America watch the Rays hoist the trophy at Steinbrenner Field. # we can't have nice things.
I love that we can't have nice things, because this is a longtime listener if he's throwing that at us.
Oh, Les is one of our regulars, absolutely.
Yeah, I love him. Thanks, Les. You know what I thought? And I heard about that. Okay, so let's play this out. Rays have that magical year, right? The magical year outside of the Trop, all right? And they go to Steinbrenner, and they're the I don't know, AL East champs, right? And they get in the postseason, and guess what? They're not playing at Steinbrenner. I'll tell you right now, they're not playing there.
Where are they going to play at?
I don't know, but it won't be there. I'm telling you, they're going to find us. They're going to find a ballpark.
They're going down to Miami and playing?
It'll be a neutral park. It won't be their ballpark, but it'll be a major league stadium someplace where they will play their playoff games.
Just go back to the Ranger Stadium where they had the World Series.
Ranger Stadium. There you go. Yep, best success you've ever had. Why not?
Globe Life, whatever.
Yeah, sell 40,000 tickets. They won't all be from Tampa. There'll be plenty of people that'll follow them, but they're not playing at Steinbrenner in front of 12,000 people for a playoff game. I promise you that I just have it in my bones that they will not allow that to happen. That they will play the entire season, and when it gets to the postseason, Omaha, I don't know where it's going to be. Honest with you, I don't know. There'll be a bigger stadium. They will not sit there and sell 11,000, 12,000 tickets to a playoff game.
Stu will finally get a split season plan and go to Montreal for the playoff games.
There you go, man. Why not? Absolutely. It's going to be something like that, man. I'm telling you. I can feel it in my bones. And that's way down the road, and there's a lot of things would have to happen even to have that problem, and it'd be a nice problem to have. But I don't see them saying, Joe, whoever is calling the game, we're here at Legends Field in Tampa, 11,000 have showed up for this, ALS championship game. No. No, that's not happening. It's just not. I swear to God it won't.
I hadn't thought about that, but
it won't happen. Do you honestly think home field, like all things being, it's like, well, that was their home game, and that's their stadium, and they played so well there, and the short right field fence and all this stuff. Yeah, but right, what is the goal? It's to sell the damn thing out, to get as many fans as you can to monetize, and it's not all about money. But this is a playoff game, man. What are we talking? They're not gonna play a playoff game in a minor league ballpark. They're not. The Yankees, it's the Yankees and the Rays. right? Or something like that, you know?
I still think one of the funnier things would be the A's and the Rays both playing in minor league.
That would be hilarious. That really would be funny.
For the AL championship?
That would be perfect. Yeah. Live from Sacramento, you know? Is that where they are? They're in Sacramento, right?
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, I'm serious, man. Find me the closest major league. Miami, probably Marlins Park. I don't know. I don't know where it would be.
So if the A's were to make
where would they
playoffs,
go? Pac Bell,
Oakland,
or whatever they call that.
Go back to Oakland Coliseum.
You could play in Oakland. You could. At least it holds 40,000. Or go to San Francisco. I don't know. How big is the ballpark in Sacramento? Does it hold more than 11.5, 11.7?
Probably a little bigger, but
yeah. But I'm telling you, am I the first one that's saying this? I don't think so. They make the postseason. Now I'll say this: if they're just a wild card and it's a best 2 out of 3, right? The first round or something like that. Yeah, okay, they could play at that ballpark. You know, like if that's what it is, 2 out of 3 to get to the next level. But once they get into the postseason, like once they're in the division or championship, like it ain't staying in Steinbrenner. Nope,
by the way, the Sacramento Park is 10,624 of fixed seats.
That's just same thing, man.
14,000 if you include lawn and standing room.
Yeah, no, I'm sure you could even, jimmy up the Steinbrenner to get a few more people in there, knock down the bar in right field or whatever.
You could build up some temporary bleachers in the outfield, for sure.
Yeah. So I mean, they could maybe increase the capacity by a couple thousand, but yeah, they're not playing there, man. They're not playing there. I'm just telling you, they're not playing there. Can you put a baseball diamond in Raymond James? Does that work? What is the?
Well, the Savannah Bananas are doing
that's what I'm saying.
March.
What was the right field porch when they did that?
No, they haven't done it yet. It's coming up this spring.
Well, maybe we'll get a little kind of a sample of whether they can actually lay a baseball field in there if there's enough room. But I personally believe that this will be so new and so nice to get out. A pitcher said this the other day. Maybe we talked about this. I can't remember because all our 2000 podcasts run together. That from a pitching standpoint, right? Hitters feel like they're going to see the ball better. Period. Right? They used to, playing outdoors, whatever. But from a pitching standpoint, it's like, it was hard to do. And we didn't complain when we did it. But you're in a 75-degree, right, dome, pitching at home. And then you go on the road for about a 6 or 7 or a 10-game road trip, and you're outdoors, and it's blazing hot, and you're not conditioned for that. Like, it's a shock to your system each time you do it because you've been at home, you've been indoors, it's climate controlled. And he goes, but, just playing outside all the time, there'll be less adjustment. We'll be used to it, and it won't be as shocking. You know what I mean? Like, it actually may, I don't know. Some people, some of the pitchers that I was listening to, like on FanFest and stuff, were talking about how, it'll be an advantage because now everything is be predominantly outdoors, right? There's just not a lot of roofed stadiums in Major League Baseball. It's an interesting take, isn't it? Like,
it is.
Plus the grass, right? Grass versus turf. You would think that's going to save your knees, right?
Yeah, a lot of it's going to depend on how the season goes, the start, because they're on the road for so much of July and August.
To me, that's a bigger issue than anything that we talked about is how can they maintain, you'd have to have a very comfortable lead, right? Well over 500 before you play that many series on the road at the end of the year.
And I think some of it's going to be, some luck with the weather.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hopefully the rainy season doesn't start in May. Sometimes it will start in early to mid-May.
Yep.
Sometimes it's not till June.
That's right.
So how the schedule plays out with that.
Mm-hmm.
There's going to be so many factors that can help or hurt. The grass is definitely going to be a plus for, if Kevin Kiermaier was still there, my gosh, how much would that help him?
It'd be amazing. And I think all those guys are going to feel that, especially it's cumulative. It's not any one game, but it's like over the course of, 80-something games on your home field, not having to stand on that concrete. That's got to help you, as will the right field porch, with the dimensions of Yankee Stadium. I mean, you got two left-handed hitters that can absolutely hit you 30 bombs each. right, on a good year at the Trop, and if they can stay healthy, and talking about Brandon Lau and Josh Lowe, they could wear out that right field, and so could Junior Caminero, even as a right-handed bat, hit it up the power alley. So I think, I also think they're going to get a little bit of a bounce. Just to, you know what, people wanted to see him in Tampa. They're in Tampa. People want to see outdoor baseball. We got outdoor baseball. Players, the rings and the Trop and losing the fly balls and all that. You know what? Don't have any of that to deal with. It's just baseball. And these guys came up, in the minor leagues, playing in the South, playing in different places. They're used to. They've seen rain. I've seen fire and I've seen rain. Was it James Taylor said it best? But that we all played baseball outdoors, right? Rarely we're like, I'm in youth league playing in a dome. No, that didn't happen. Not very much. So, back to your roots, back to where the game should be, fresh air, all that stuff. And I think it's going to energize those guys, particularly when the weather's great down here early in the season. But I think they're going to really enjoy it. And it's a one-off. Hopefully it won't be more than a year and a half. Who knows? But and presumably, even though it'll be aesthetic, you'd rather play in front of 25,000 fans. But if every seat is filled, I'm good with that if I'm a major league player. You know what I mean? Like it's going to have the aesthetics of a sold out stadium, which is also not a bad thing. All right, we didn't get to many mailbags today. We got more for tomorrow. I promise you we're going to do a bunch of them. Also, the Lightning are back at practice as they get ready to rejoin their season when this Four Nations tournament is over. I guess that's just it'll be done Thursday as the final.
The championship is Thursday night, U.S. Canada, and then hockey resumes on Saturday. The Lightning don't play till Sunday. The Seattle Kraken in town Sunday afternoon, Sunday evening. It's a 6:00 puck drop.
Total of 4. Is it 4 or 5 players the Lightning have in this thing?
Well, 5 total, but Victor Hedman's done, so Team Sweden's done.
Okay.
So there's
what if any impact, like from a fatigue, like those guys obviously played hockey while they were away, right? They didn't get the time off.
Yep.
What if any impact do you think that will have on them versus the guys that got the 9 days off?
I don't think. I mean, they practiced and then they played games. They didn't obviously get rest. My guess is, Victor Hedman probably came back to Tampa on Tuesday.
Yeah, so he'll get some time.
My guess is he's not going to practice Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
They'll give him that day off and maybe Thursday off too. They're scheduled to practice 3 times this week before they play Sunday.
Okay.
He's been skating and practicing, so
he won't have to do as much as maybe some of the other guys. Yeah.
When the other 4 get back, they're going to play Thursday night. They may not practice Saturday. Maybe they do a little bit. I mean, it may be up to the player themselves.
Right. Give their legs back.
Yeah. What do you need? What do you want?
Mm-hmm.
They'll probably, John Cooper's not even going to be back for practice Wednesday and Thursday. Obviously, he's coaching. So it'll be the assistants running it. So a lot of it may be, player by player basis. I mean, these are some of the elite players of the world. They know what they need to play. John Cooper and the staff at the Lightning are going to trust them to, hey, if you need this as a body maintenance day or rest day, take it.
Right.
Like
all the other teams are dealing with it too. You know what I mean?
No, absolutely. I mean,
plenty of guys on Team Canada that,
Mm-hmm. And some of them, like I believe the Panthers play Saturday. Matthew Tkachuk is playing and Sam Bennett's playing, and
you got one less day.
And they're going to come back and probably come back Friday and play Saturday. They're not even going to get a rest at all. So every team's dealing with it. With the players are in it, but these are the elite players of the world. It's not like if Braden Point misses a practice, John Cooper's like, oh, this is going to hurt us. Like Braden Point knows what he's doing. There's things they work on and stuff, but if he's going to take a body maintenance day or rest day, whatever they want to call it. Like
these guys they've all played World Games, Olympics. A lot of these guys are used to this.
Yep.
Playing through the break kind of thing. So it's an honor. And they'll adjust when they come back. So that'll be interesting to see the final and see if USA can win it all, which would be remarkable. Also, get on down to Breitling Boutique. If you haven't been there, I'm telling you, you do yourself a favor. I don't know if you're a big watch guy or girl or not, but I'm telling you, you have to see this store. You have to see the customer service. Spend some time in there. Have a cocktail, seriously. Learn about these watches. They're gorgeous. The Navitimers, the Chronomats. The collection that they have that's limited of the NFL 104th year anniversary watches, the sports watches for women, all of it is great stuff. We wouldn't tell you if it was something otherwise. It's Breitling Boutique, International Plaza Mall. Make sure you let them know that you heard about it on Sports Day Tampa Bay. Thanks for listening. For Steve Versnick, I'm Rick Stroud of the Tampa Bay Times. Have a great day, everybody.